What's up, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. So whenever players start really looking to improve, one of the first things I'll always hear them asking is how to improve their game sense. A lot of times they're met with the simple, just play more or review your gameplay, which can kind of help, but like anything, you need to focus on specific elements to really notice improvement. Game sense is such a broad term that touches on everything you do in the game, so it can be really overwhelming to get into, but that's what I'm here for, so let's get started. Because game sense is such a big concept, I want to start off by defining it in simpler terms. For me, game sense is your ability to gather information and make good decisions with that information. It sounds simple enough that way, but with a game as fast paced as Apex, the information you're receiving can easily become overwhelming, and taking too long to process that can lead to your death. In just a 3v3 fight, you have to constantly account for 5 other people's locations, theirs in your own rotation and health, ability cooldowns, ammo usage, and more. You get the point. Decisions that were once good plays can turn bad or worse in just a few seconds. Not only that, but game sense on a micro level is completely different from that of a macro level. You can completely dominate 3v3 fights and still struggle on a macro level. So how can we learn to process all of this information timely and properly? Observing, repetition, and reviewing. When you're working on your game sense, these three things are actively working with each other, but for the sake of explaining them, I'm going to keep them relatively split. Observing, here could mean your own friends, YouTube content, or streamers. Watching different people play will show you not only how different players approach similar situations, but also you get a direct look into their game and map knowledge. Just from watching, you're able to see how they take a fight based on the guns and attachments they have available, or how they handle a hot drop or 1v3. I can't tell you the amount of different climb ups, angles, and other unique spots I found just from watching others play that would probably take tons more time for me to have learned on my own. This should be the easiest part for learning because all it takes is a little bit of memory. Repetition. This is kind of that just play more we talked about earlier, but you should never just be queuing up mindlessly if you're actually trying to get better. The key thing here is mindfulness. Be conscious about not only what you're doing, but what your teammates and other teams are doing. Think not only about what will happen immediately after your plays in the game, but also what they could lead to later down the line. 1 or 2 really good hours a day where you're completely focused is going to help you more than a couple 6 hour days where you're just going through the motions. Pay attention to your surroundings and you'll start to pick up on patterns in others' gameplay. I'll come back to this pattern thing later. Finally, reviewing. Review your gameplay. Whether it be video recording or thinking about your previous decisions mid game or in the lobby, this step is invaluable. If you feel like your mistakes are beyond your comprehension, try to find someone else to look at it too. I've reviewed VODs before, and there's always people on Reddit, Apex University willing to look too. Different eyes will open up new perspectives for you to view, and with that, you'll only understand the game at a deeper level. Very rarely do situations on Apex have just one right answer. Take the time to learn the different ones and pick ones that fit your playstyle or adapt your playstyle. Now I'm going to give an exercise that you can actively use in game to help build up your awareness a little bit. Not sure the original source of this, but it's something I heard from a Moki Sniper video. Basically, it's a talk out loud exercise. Every piece of information you get in game or play you make, you say it out loud. Call out your spotting enemies, how they're moving, and how you're moving, everything. Whatever it is that's happening, you should be vocalizing, and there should be little to zero downtime. Because in a real game, there should be little to zero downtime, even when there's not an immediate fight. This will not only help you become more familiar with the info you're collecting, but also you'll start to filter your information better. If you find yourself overwhelmed often, you've probably taken in too much information that's not relevant. With this, you're essentially actively observing your own gameplay, remaining mindful of it, and if you decide to review this footage, you know exactly where your head was at. It's not something you have to do 100% of the time you play, but it's definitely something that's worth using sometimes. Lastly, I want to talk about those patterns I mentioned earlier. Once you've committed to all this and you've started to recognize more and more patterns, that's how you know your game sense is really improving. It's the reason why you know every World's Edge game is going to end in fragment 2 minutes into round 2. You've seen it a million times. Knowing how a player is going to react to a certain play you make and already being ready to counter that is how you can be competitive even when you're having a rough day mechanically. In multiplayer games, there's always intersections of what players do and what players should do, and building your game sense lets you take advantage of that. That's going to wrap up my guide on how to improve your awareness and game sense. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe. It helps the channel grow. And let me know if there's anything else you want to see a guide on. You can find me on Twitch and Twitter, @CodyTrust. Thanks again for watching. Peace.